Feel me? So let's get everything going. Next news story. Oh, when we talk about policing, right? That's always been a topic of discussion from us, just as far as how we're treated by police, how we're treated by this system, right? It's really important that we acknowledge when we have black cops, because again, I'm of the belief that some cops may not be bad, right, per se, but if you're a part of a system in the police force that you're in, and you know about corruption, if you know about different things that are happening incorrectly, if you know about racism that is taking place, and you don't do anything, then you're part of the problem too, whether you black, white, or whatever. And it's my belief in corrupt police departments, most of the police officers know about the shit that go down. It's just a matter of having the courage to be like, nah, I'm gonna step up and say something. I'm gonna step up and do something. You know what I mean? So here's a story about 4 black retired Tampa police officers. They've been honored by the city this month for blazing a trail against discrimination, and this was in the 1970s. So think about how difficult they had it. We know how fucked up shit is now, but they were in the 70s, of course, dealing with this same type of thing, if not worse, right? So Gray, James Duke, Clarence Nathan, and Louis Rufus, I want to give these brothers their flowers, right? Now known as the Fearless Four. This is what they're known as for stepping up against discrimination in their city, right? They filed a discrimination complaint in 1974 with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission against the Tampa Bay the Tampa Police Department. This complaint would later make history, but the officers told the Atlanta Black Star that the racism and intimidation some black civilians felt from police officers also existed within the police department, right? Let me see here. The men say they were not allowed promotions within the police department. They also did not have the same power as white officers within their communities, right? So let's go into a little bit about what they had to face. They said we weren't allowed to arrest white people back then. Damn. What? Imagine that. Imagine being a black cop trying to serve and protect, and they telling you, nah, you see a white criminal, keep it moving. Don't fuck with Timmy. I know you found weed in his pocket, but let him go. What kind of shit? Now, and this was the brother Lewis who gave this declaration. Who eventually retired as the rank of a sergeant. He told the Atlantic Star that you could not hold them, but you had to wait for a white officer to arrive and then explain to them what happened. So look at that, family. When we look at the racism in the police departments in our country, when we look at just the all-out racism that we face in our community, it's not just the civilians that have to go through this. These brothers is explaining that we was treated like boys even while having a badge. Think about how belittling that is. You pull somebody over, he drunk, he's speeding, regardless of what color he is, but let's say he's a white dude on this day, you can't arrest him until somebody white show up. What kind of bullshit is that? Now, he also went on to say, you would hear white officers come on the radio and use racial undertones. That was common practice at the department at the time. Nathan said, we were on the tail end of the civil rights movement, integration and segregation, so I think a lot of it was carryover to how people responded, but we were supposed to be in a different place in society. That was obviously not the case. Now, one of the more pressing issues for these men and many other black officers was the lack of opportunity. Each of the 4 said the Tampa Police Department did not give them opportunity to train or advance, right? The thing that bothered me, and this was said by the brother Gray, the thing that bothered me more at the time was regardless of the training, you could not regardless of your training, you cannot get promoted. There was one black officer that had more training hours than anyone in the police department that he paid for himself, and he could not get promoted. Now, new requirements eventually made it much harder for African Americans to get into the police department, right? Let me see here. The men's federal complaint led to a 2-year investigation before it was resolved in 1976. The city of Tampa and the police department, to avoid going to court, they reached a consolidation agreement with the Department of Equal Opportunity. And by that, it opened the doors for other minorities and those who came behind us, explained Gray. One by one, black officers started seeing a change within their department's rules. Um, rules, well, a change in their department. Rules went into place to protect minorities and make sure they had a chance to move up the ladder, right? So this is important, family. I wanted to read this to everybody to make sure we were aware. Again, if these brothers didn't step up, even in again the 70s, it's difficult now. How they experienced racism and what they had to go through. I'm not gonna say it was worse then because we still going through the same shit now, but it was hard on them, right? If these brothers didn't step up and say, "Look, this is what we experienced, and this is how it's playing out," then not only would their police department probably still be like that, but things like this, just like the last story I read, this sets a precedence around the country, family. The theme of these news stories today is we have to say something. When you're in a situation at your job, when you're in a situation in your neighborhood, when you're in a situation in your community where you're being treated a different way based on your race, I think sometimes, especially in 2021, a lot of black folks get on this post-racial shit. Well, they'll have things happening to them and they'll discount it as being something else, something other than race. I'm not saying we should cry foul about racism at every situation that we face, but you have to be aware, family. You got to have your third eye open to be aware that, look, this shit could be going on with me based on how I look, and I'm going to say something. Sometimes we are scared of the backlash we gonna get from our neighbors. Sometimes we are scared of the backlash we gonna get from the people around us. But fuck that, the backlash we gonna get of the people at work. Forget all that, family. Like if the freedom fighters before us didn't step up and say, nah, this is wrong, who knows where we'd be today. Now, we still got a long way to go, but there's been a lot of people before us, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, to name a few, have stood up for us and said, nah, this ain't right. I'm going to take this thing in a different direction, right? So should be inspiring to all of us. Family, if you're in a situation where you're being treated a particular way because of the color of your skin, say something. Fuck that. Say something. And at this point, it's 2021, man. All of us should have the balls or the wherewithal to step up and say, nah, I'm going to say something because not only is this going to affect me positively or have a positive outcome for me, but this can positively affect my entire family. You know what I mean? Let me see here. Yeah. So shout out to the Fearless Four, the brothers who had the balls to step up in the and this was in the 70s. How many black police officers do we have here in 2021 that's willing to step up and say what they need to say, or step up and take the brunt of the criticism and the backlash or whatever comes with standing up for what's right? You know what I mean? So let's keep it moving. Last news story of the day. Now, we are aware that